Hello, I'm John Lewis of ACRO. I'm joined today by Amy Hariani, who is Director and Legal Policy Counsel for the U.S.-India Business Council. Welcome, Amy.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. So, tell me about the U.S. IBC in general, and I know specifically you focus on the life sciences area there.
Yep. Yeah, so the U.S.-India Business Council is the largest bilateral trade organization between U.S. and India. And our companies focus almost exclusively on trade between the U.S. and India. We have about 350 companies in our membership, and that represents a cross-section of U.S. multinationals, but also the large Indian companies like Tata and Reliance, also that are investing here in the U.S. We were formed in 1975, so we've been around for a while at the request of our two governments, and kind of started out as an initiative of the two governments, and since then have been going strong. And since kind of liberalization of the economy in 1991 really have taken off, there's been a lot more interest about India, investing in India, how companies can do business there, et cetera.
And in the life sciences area, I know a lot of the focus is on the pharmaceutical industry. You've been very helpful to us on some clinical trials issues. What's your current focus there, and what are some of the issues you're seeing on the life sciences?
Yeah, well, you know, the life sciences industry is a really exciting industry right now because there's so much happening. I'm thankful that it keeps me, busy each day. So, in life sciences, you have an umbrella covering pharmaceuticals, medical device, healthcare, hospitals, health insurance. It covers the kind of full spectrum of issues, clinical trials, of course. So what we do is we basically work at, how do we help our companies that are in any of these areas, healthcare, hospital, devices, pharmaceuticals, how do we help them, do more and better trade and business in India, and vice versa here in the U.S. So in the life sciences side, in the pharmaceutical sector, we talk about how do we help the pharma companies gain access to the markets there, how do we make sure that they're messaging the right way in terms of getting their medicines out to the general population. I was just in a part of India last month with my husband in Kashmir, which is still, has a lot of opportunity for development. And one of the areas that they really see for growth there is to be able to have increased access to medicines there. So it's, parts of India where the supply chain and the distribution networks are not so developed, where we work with our companies to say, how do you get out into those markets? And then, of course, we deal with their policy issues as well, because in addition to sort of getting out their product, there's policies that the government will enact that may help or hurt the industry. So we work with the government to be able to say, hey, you should consider when enacting this policy how it may impact business and ultimately the patients in India. In addition to the pharmaceutical sector, there's also, as I mentioned, healthcare more broadly. So in India, for example, roughly only about 20% of the population is covered by some form of health insurance. So now, if you're looking at it from how do we get more Indians to have access to these medicines, well, health insurance plays into that discussion as well, as does access to hospitals and doctors and other areas as well. So it's kind of a broad discussion that we have to be able to say, how do we, make India a healthier place? How can we help in being part of that discussion? And hopefully having our companies play a good role in that.
And what are some of the specific policy issues that you've been dealing with recently in the life sciences area?
Yeah, well, there's quite a few of them actually. As I said, it keeps me busy. So, the intellectual property space is one of our biggest challenges over there, and that's because a lot of the pharmaceutical companies and biologics, they bring innovative medicines to India that are still on patent, and some of the challenges there is sort of working with India has a very strong generics industry locally, and so working with those two industries to be able to say, these medicines are important to the population, they're life-saving medicines, they're medicines that can treat new diseases and cures, but more importantly, having the Indians understand that the investment in those medicines actually helps develop further cures, new cures and treatments that may not exist yet. So trying to explain the innovation life cycle, saying this is why we have to put so much upfront cost in medicines, and taking the intellectual property of those medicines at the expense of the company is actually really hurting not only the company but the patients ultimately, and kind of telling that story and explaining how the IP system works with respect to pharmaceuticals is a big part of the policy challenge. We also have issues with pricing in medicines, price sensitivities there. Of course, India works with the industry to sort of develop different ways to be able to fix that problem. We have clinical trial issues, which of course, when you're in India and you're introducing a new medicine, you have to get clinical trial approval. And there's, I think, a kind of a newer issue in terms of making sure that the population understands that when they engage in a clinical trial, it's not yet tested. It's part of a trial to be able to see whether the drug works or not. And making sure that there's adequate understanding by the population that this is part of a process to figure out how effective a cure or treatment is.
So if I want to find out more about the USIBC, where could I do that?
Well, we have a website, so it's www.usibc.com. We also have a Twitter account. It's under USIBC. Any way that they want to get in touch with us to get more information, feel free to do that. They can definitely follow us on Twitter and on our website to see what we're doing.
If you'd like more information about ACRO, you can visit our website at acrohealth.org and follow us on Twitter at acrohealth.